welcome to the KVJ Show podcast.
Kevin's eyes look insane, but he's got new hair. Virginia is a witch, and she farts in her chair. Jason is a spaz who's got an old man's ass. Welcome to the After the Show podcast.
Alrighty, hello and welcome to the KVJ After the Show podcast. Back from a fantastic weekend. It was so great to see everybody at the Taste of Little Italy in Port St. Lucie for the meatball eating contest on Saturday. It was just like a day out of a movie. The weather was absolutely perfect. Actually, a little bit warm, but the crowd was fantastic. The excitement was amazing as Sean went and defended his title. He is a back-to-back meatball eating champ now. Pastaya was absolutely fantastic. They provided the meatballs. Everybody's talking about how good they were, and then I went there afterwards and got a little snack and really enjoyed myself sitting at the bar there.
I love the Meatball Champ's attitude. He was helping other people before he won his title again for the second time. He's giving people legit good tips.
And it really wasn't even close.
It wasn't. There was one other cat that did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Sean was pretty thorough. So had the fam there. Obviously, they're just welled up with pride. Watching him take down all those other competitors. A whole pound of meat he did in 1 minute and 15 seconds. It's pretty good.
Those are big-ass meatballs, man.
Yeah, they were. So they had some really good stuff, really good food. Went over there to Southpaw, and that's a great little brewery and restaurant, and it's right there in that Hart Plaza. Finally got to see that. I'd seen that Hart. That's a cool little thing that Port St. Lucie's got going on there, and they got a lot of great things going on. I was very encouraged to see that. And the one thing that really kind of jumped out at me, too, was some of the housing. And I looked at it, I'm like, well, you know what? I bet some of these places are somewhat affordable. And I was talking to a good bit of people about the housing and how it's affordable. I know that is an ongoing issue here in South Florida. In fact, I got an email from Ryan in Lake Worth Beach, who often has a lot of things to say about it. And he was just really kind of talking about Lion Country Safari as well, which they kind of said that nothing's going to happen to Lion Country Safari, but it's kind of looking like from the news, they're saying that they're taking some things off the website, not really promoting the water park anymore, and some of the passes that they had and things for summertime. They typically would be posting those things up now, and they're not. It looks like a place that is shutting things down more than cranking things up. And they're trying to tell us that they're not going to shut it down, but who knows? So Ryan said basically two options. When creepy billionaires want to purchase a drive-through zoo, it's usually for two reasons. Either one, they want to preserve nature and acquire their own exotic pet collection, or two, they want to bulldoze the land and turn it into another sketchy AI data center. So who knows what's going to happen with Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle, also owns a lot of property in South Florida, including the Palm Beach there in Manalapan. He is going to go down the lines of option two, he thinks. He thinks they're going to go for that data center. And he said it is kind of concerning because the AI and cryptocurrency bubble is going to burst. Investors are getting nervous, and that's why Amazon stock plummeted nearly 15% last week. And when that happens, all these companies are going to lay off everybody, and we're going to have no jobs to go back to. Another thing I think is odd is that these companies simply move their California workforce here, and they don't really hire any local people except for custodial and janitorial services. I get it's a capitalist society, but the dollar value is so different in Florida than California. How are lifelong Floridians supposed to keep up with Californians who make 10 times the annual household salary of my zip code? My friends who make $25 to $30K a year are getting crushed by Californians making $250 to $500K a year. And if you go further west to the 441 corridor, it's like the $1 million a year earners moving into the new luxury gated neighborhoods. We've already lost hope on affordable housing when the New Yorkers came down post-COVID, and now the Californians are destroying our dream of having our own place to live in. And he said the Californians that I talk to on a daily basis don't even have real jobs. It's always consulting or cryptocurrency asset management or marketing research analyst positions. I mean, seriously, can't AI do all those things? So, yeah, we'll see. And, you know, we were just talking last week that Mark Zuckerberg, who is one of those big staples of Silicon Valley, bought himself a $200 million mansion in Miami. in that Indian Creek neighborhood next to Tom Brady. So.
Yeah, I got some people friends that lived here their whole life, and they're bouncing out. They said, screw this, man. I can't do it.
Yeah, no, it's legit. I mean, the Sun Sentinel has another article today, one solution to South Florida's dire affordable housing crisis. And it's somebody just talking about the extent of the crisis. And according to the latest research, the Miami metro area is ranked America's least affordable for home buyers. Fewer than 1 in 200 homes on the market are within reach for a typical Florida household. 1 in 200. That's 0.5%. That's crazy numbers. That's not sustainable. That's why it stood out to me when I said, wow, looks like they got a lot of affordable housing here in Port St. Lucie. And people in Port St. Lucie wanted me to kindly shut the fuck up.
Dude, stop telling people that.
Yeah, they're like, we don't need your promotion.
I would live in the Pizzle if it was closer to work.
Yeah, my wife said the exact same thing, and I was like, I would not argue with you. It's very quaint. It's lovely. I just, I really kind of love the vibe. It feels like family. Like everybody kind of looks out for each other. It's just there's a lot of really great attributes of that community.
Yeah, is it me or does from Stewart on, because I was up in Stewart all weekend long, I feel like Stewart had so many restaurants on that strip. Up and down, every fast food you could think of. I'm used to living off North Lake Boulevard where it's kind of spread out a bit. And it was just kind of neat to see so many
nice
restaurants packed next to. That's cozy for me.
It grabbed my eye. We went by it on the Bright Line. I've been to it before and kind of walked around there. Was very impressed. But it's been a while that I'm sure some places have changed. And I need to get back there and check it out.
Well, Denny's picked me up for the event. Because he was coming from West Palm. So he went through Stewart and picked me up. And it was so funny because he grew up in Stewart. And there's little Dennyisms all over, little stories he'll tell you. He goes, that's the Checkers my one friend worked at. It's pretty cool to hear some of the stories, from a stoner to see the places he was talking about.
Yeah, I'd like to see a little Denny's tour of that. I think that'd be a fun watch. Have him put together kind of a little documentary of his old stomping grounds and the little stories behind it. That'd be like a live version where you can actually kind of put yourself to the place where Denny's was back in the day.
He showed me, he told the story about his buddy who worked at Checkers, and I ended up eating at Checkers with their fries. I hadn't had them in so long. Everyone likes their fries. Pretty shitty, Kev.
Really?
They were pretty shitty.
Don't think I'm really that surprised.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought I would be.
Yeah, no, I'm not stunned by that one. Did get Megan, who said we got to meet Jaybird and Denny's at Tradition on Saturday. They were super cool with Kai and Xander.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and got some photos of the boys right there. A little Pokemon hat on. But, we got to see so many great KVJ Nationers up there. Just so friendly and just love that community. So it was a ton of fun. Definitely will be back sooner.
I liked everybody except for the person who got behind me and shook my back out of nowhere. I'm like, dude.
Shook your back?
Yeah. They're trying to scare me. And I'm like, dude, don't be touching people's backs like that.
Right, yes.
Fucking, I think he was drunk.
It was like noon.
I think he was drunk.
Wow, he went after it, huh?
Yeah, I think it was noon.
I mean, that's impressive. Your house at noon.
Some people do that whole scare thing and they think it's funny. Yeah. I fucking hate getting scared.
Yeah, I am not a big fan of it either. I don't blame you. Just people grabbing you out of nowhere and shaking you. That's not a lot of fun either.
No, it's not. It's very awkward.
Yeah, I should say. Well, you're talking a little bit about some of the queso, and man, it looked like of all the quesos that we had on there, we had one that definitely ran away with it. That was it Chili's, I think?
It was.
Everybody was all going crazy about. But, this is kind of one of the things that I think is going on with some of these chain restaurants is they keep changing recipes. It just seems so often that anytime we talk about a chain restaurant, somebody's like, yeah, it's just not as good as it used to be. They changed the recipes on something. It's just different. And Stacy said, yeah, Chili's changed their queso. They do not have the one with the meat, and they also do not have the white queso anymore. It's now yellow, and it's not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, and that was, people were all over that. That was a far and away winner in the queso game. And if the champ is thrown in the towel and said, yeah, we gave up on queso, we're not even going to try to chase that anymore, then, they lost a big feather in their cap. And there you go.
They were known for the queso.
Yeah.
That's what got me in there to love Chili's was their queso.
Okay. Well, I hope that is an inaccurate report because it just seems like every place we talk about, you go down the list of all the restaurants and be like, I love that. And be like, yeah, they don't do it the same anymore. They changed the recipe.
Well,
it's always for the worse.
It mind fucks you because I think I got a pretty good palate when it comes to remembering the things I do like.
Yeah, you do.
Olive Garden, even their breadsticks taste not like they used to.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. I've heard no place is like it used to be. And I think that's why so many are going out and they're just not working anymore. Because it's just, especially for the money you pay, you're paying the same amount of money, maybe more, and you're getting a less quality food product.
Well, you said it a couple weeks ago. There's new bitches coming to town. All those big dogs that were top of the food chain.
Yeah.
They're not. There's a new kid in town.
Yeah, in fact, it's really almost when I see that now, it's kind of depressing. I was talking to, some people with Port St. Lucie, and they said, yeah, the cool places are either east or west. I said, what's in between? They said, not a lot. I was like, yeah, you could probably just see like an Outback here or there, but there's nothing that Outbacks used to get me so excited. I see them now. I'm like, keep on going. Let's see what else there is.
I would have the biggest not the biggest, but I would have an Outback boner going to that restaurant. And same thing. It's not even on my radar anymore.
No, I remember when I got to town, 99, there was one, the Village Common Shopping Plaza in West Palm Beach, and that place was packed. Lines coming out of it. You'd have to wait for 45 minutes to get in.
It was a big deal.
Huge deal. And not even close to that now. I mean, It's gone, but, I don't know of any Outback that has that kind of wait. Yeah, back in the 90s, there used to be waits to get into an Outback.
Dude, that shit was, I was going to a fancy restaurant back in the day. That's how I looked at Outback.
Yeah, I kind of did too. I mean, it was the place. Like, I remember even when I lived in California, we were going to Outback in the mid 90s, and you were excited. You're like, yeah, let's do it.
my mom and Ann, my aunt Ann, they loved the Alice Springs chicken, and they would go on and talk about it as if it was a family member. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, and I have a lot of places that still excite me. That, like, the South Paul that I went to, both places I went to in Port St. Lucie were fantastic, but they had very solid food. There's a couple little wrinkles and surprising things that they had on the menu that made it kind of fun. Like, I got the pickled chips that they have, but they did them kind of like a Mexican street corn version.
Ooh.
Yeah. And it was very unique. I never had them like that. I'm like, okay, that was new. And the pizzas looked amazing. In fact, both places I went looked like they had fantastic pizza. And people were talking about that. They said they do the hot honey there as well. So beers are on point. So, yeah, that was a great place.
Yeah, everyone's talking hot honey these days.
Yeah. And neither place was a chain. They're basically places where they're just kind of standalones.
Yeah.
And the quality control was good. Now, you got a little issue going on because a bird has moved into your neighborhood. It's a bird-on-bird crime, and that thing is making some noise and making it hard for you to sleep.
Well, it's just so unpredictable. I've got a bird kind of chart going on. I'm making sure I write down the timestamp. I go, why is it? Okay, it's 4:45 in the morning. It will shut the fuck up. All right, 5:30 p. Will shut the fuck up. There's no rhyme or reason why it's doing it. And I don't know. It sounds like a pet, someone's pet. I have no idea if it's out in the wild just running around.
Okay.
But it is loud as fuck.
What makes it feel like it's a pet?
Because it sounds contained in something, as if it's in a
So
cage.
It's not moving a lot. It's not like it'd fly to one side of your house and you hear it on the other side of your house.
And I know people in my neighborhood have a bunch of chickens and shit.
Yeah, well, I'd imagine that the other neighbors probably don't like it either. Now, some of these suggestions, a lot of people were trying to guess what it might be. One said, Jaber, listen to the sound of the common gallinule. Gallinule. Never heard of that. It's a black bird with a red mask and a big green feet. Very common in Florida and loud. They hang out in wet areas. And Giselle thinks maybe it might be a peacock. They're also very loud. And Grant said, look up the limpkin bird call on YouTube. I think that's what you're referring to. We got a couple comments on the limpkin.
Yeah, that thing is loud as well.
But
it fucks with my head because and I'm not trying to even be cute with this. It sort of sounds like Virginia's laugh from a distance.
Oh, yeah, no, she sounds like most kind of crows. Yeah. Yeah, they have those, I don't know if they're crows, if they really are crows, but they are out this time of year. In fact, I heard a few right outside of Tradition in Port St. Lucie, and it reminded me of that because you hear them. They hang out the dump right across from the ballpark at the Palm Beaches, and if they don't have on their little sonic, whatever it is that keeps them away, you hear that all the time.
You got to hear the bird that's next to Denny's window. I thought I had problems. Holy shit. It sounds like he's got a roommate.
Yeah, that'd be rough. Honestly, if I had a bird like there, I'd probably have to do something to try to discourage it.
It sounds like this bird is in Denny's room.
Yeah. I couldn't mess with that. I'd put an owl up or whatever keeps them away.
So we're both having bird issues right now.
And Robert said they have an app called Merlin Bird, and what it does, it will record the bird sound, and it'll tell you what kind of bird it is.
That's a cool app, then. That's badass.
Merlin Bird. I think it's MERLINBURD. Also got a lesson in the difference between a rooster and a hen today. Vince was saying, other than just being male-female, but how you can tell by looking. He said a rooster is a mature male chicken, while chicken is the general term for the species, encompassing hens, roosters, and chicks. Roosters are distinguished from hens by their larger, redder combs and wattles, long pointed neck, saddle feathers, curved tail feathers, and the ability to crow. That would be the noise.
I keep waking up and go, why is Virginia in my backyard?
Right. Might wonder. Well, today, just in the dirt alone, we'd had that Wasserman dude that wound up in one of the Jeffrey Epstein emails from like 20 years ago. Apparently, he was trying to flirt a little bit with Ghislaine Maxwell while he was married, and that's kind of connected him. And then you've had some artists that were protesting, like Chappell Roan, who left the company, and so he said, I'm going to sell it. Then Tommy Mottola, who he is the dude that really launched Mariah Carey, got her all of her number ones. He was the head of Sony for a very long time and is one of those New Yorkers that is transplanted back down to South Florida.
They got married, no? Or they were together?
They were married, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's now married to Talia. She had like a hit or two, but not anywhere near the career that Mariah Carey had, obviously. And so the thing is he was going to do a pasta sauce line with Jimmy Fallon, and now that is fallen apart because Tommy Mottola was named in the Epstein files, including emails, photos, travel records, and other materials. It lists him in hundreds of entries tied to visits, travel arrangements, and communications. And it really seems like what they're trying to pull out now is how many communications did they have, and what was the nature of it, and did it happen before his initial arrest in Palm Beach County, where it was kind of exposed that this guy's, because some people are like saying, well, I didn't know how creepy he was, and then, so you can kind of argue that. If you're saying, okay, well, it was before and I just thought it was a meeting for this or that, you could legitimately say, okay, well, I thought it was business. And I think that's what some people were saying. But Virginia had sent me a video, and they've actually gone through and they've analyzed to the point where they can see how much correspondence happened. They can see whether it was before, whether it was after, and even the nature of the communication. So they've, like with everything else, they ran it right through AI. And it printed all that out. And that's what they're coming out with. And so they do have some names like Ehud Barak, very suspect. That was a guy who was prime minister of Israel. And so there are some big, powerful names like that that have jumped out and kind of been exposed. And now you're starting to get to that. Be like, okay, what was your excuse now?
I can't believe how many comedians he hit up to try to just get in that world. He wanted to be rubbing elbows with anybody in entertainment, it seemed.
Yeah, he wanted to be in there with anybody. I mean, that was the thing about him is, he really was all doing that. In fact, it was Joe Rogan that was talking on his podcast last week that Jeffrey Epstein wanted to meet him, and he was just like, wait, what? About what? He's like, no. He turned it down because he's like, what's this all about? He's like, yeah, I've got no need to be in that world.
All the people that turned him down are so happy they have the receipt of turning him down. I never did the fucking island, I swear, look.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, now Attorney General Pam Bondi, she's saying the government has released what she's calling the full set of Jeffrey Epstein files under the Epstein Files Transparency Act. She said they're all out there, so there's nothing left held behind. Of course, people have opinions on that. whether or not she's being forthcoming. There is also a couple people that have lost some gigs. There's been some bad stuff that has come up, including one guy that is a billionaire, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, who resigned as CEO of logistics giant DP World following the disclosure of his communications with Jeffrey Epstein. The move comes after financial groups in Canada and the UK earlier this week announced a pause in their investments with DP World on the heels of the U.S. Justice Department's release of the Epstein files. So that cost him a gig.
Oh, Sultan.
Yes. There's some other people that are also having issues as well. And some other stories that had come up over the whole thing. Now, one of the emails that we have here is rather interesting because it comes from one of our KVJ Nationers that went to Royal Palm Beach High School. And honestly, it's one of the main reasons why, this case has really done so much for me. One, I have a daughter, and I just can't imagine if they were rich. And I honestly, too, I don't like the rich, powerful person that thinks that they are on a tier above you, that they're more important than you, that for some reason God favors them over you just because they've got money and power and they're sick and twisted. And I don't like that either. So there's a lot of things that really have drawn me into this. But the big part of it, too, is that we have so many victims from South Florida, and they want to remain anonymous. So they said in their email, they said, I went to Royal Palm Beach High School and I was friends with a few confirmed victims who have spoken out. Now, as an adult looking back in hindsight, I realized one of my best friends was also a victim, but has not publicly come forward. I remember hanging out with our little clique of friends when she wasn't there, and we knew something was going on. We questioned her, but she would never crack. We tried to figure out who her mysterious older boyfriend was, but she would only tell us that he was rich. He lived on the island, and he was taking care of her. He definitely was not a made-up character. When we would hang out, she would get picked up in fancy black cars with tinted windows. Her parents were never around, and they had no money, but she did. Her parents were, she even had a journal hidden at the top of her closet that was duct taped shut. We asked why she had it if no one could open it. She said it was just for her in case she needed it. At the time, we assumed she was dating a drug dealer, but now looking back, I realized what was going on because she was friends with those girls, the other ones that have come forward. What I don't understand is why the school district or the high school hasn't spoken up. If these girls were being solicited during the school day at the high school, how come no one from the Palm Beach County School District or Royal Palm Beach High School has addressed this situation? I'm also sad that no one is sticking up for them from our hometown. No one publicly supports them, even though we all went to school together and grew up together. I don't understand how child trafficking and abuse has become political. Underage prostitution is not a thing. It's called child sex abuse. Everyone should agree that children should be safe, especially when they're at school. The adults in charge dropped the ball back then, but they have the opportunity to get behind these women now, but nothing, just crickets. This whole thing is overwhelmingly sad. It shows me that these girls really were and are still considered throwaways because they grew up poor. And that was the other thing as well. There was a former Abercrombie model that has come out, and she's told a bit of her story, and I saw a bit of the video. And she was in it back in the day when Ashton Kutcher was one of those Abercrombie models, and she was telling the stories of what they did, and she was on a private plane going to Epstein Island, and she thought it was just a job. And then there was a guy that started fondling her between her legs, and she realized, okay, this is an abduction. This isn't a business opportunity. And then she wound up on the island, and some of the stories that had happened that she shared were kind of odd. It was just, weird. There was a lot of weird stuff that was going on, man. One of the stories was they had this photographer and they had the models. He was laying underneath a glass coffee table and he was filming up as they were taking dumps on the table.
What?
Yeah. Like that kind of stuff, man. Just
Wait, what?
Yeah. That's one of the things that they were doing. It's like, this is what we do in the modeling world. And people are like,
no.
Okay.
That's fucked, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's every story like that is just really kind of jacked.
That you always hear weird things about certain parts of the modeling world, how fucked up it is.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Sounds like part of it's true.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, there's a couple things that came out. One, in fact, talking about Royal Palm Beach. And I just mentioned Joe Rogan the other day. He was just talking about how it really was a fight between girls at Royal Palm Beach High School that kind of blew the Jeffrey Epstein story open.
So it started between a fight between two teenage girls at Royal Palm Beach High School in Florida. Here are the details of how the event triggered the investigation. Early 2005, two girls at Royal Palm Beach High School got into a fight during which one girl repeatedly called the other girl a prostitute or hooker. Following the fight, school administrations and parents investigated, searching one of the girls' purses and finding $300 in cash. The confession: the student initially claimed the money was from working at a fast food restaurant, but later revealed she had been paid for massages by a wealthy man, later identified as Jeffrey Epstein. This revelation led to a police investigation in March of 2005, when the stepmother of one of the girls reported the molestation to the Palm Beach police. Wow.
Wow, that's in 2005.
That was the first arrest.
And now listen to this. It says they identified the Royal Palm Beach High was identified as a focal point for recruitment, where, according to investigations, at least 15 students were lured into Epstein's Palm Beach home.
15. Wow. Yeah, it's so messed up, man. It really is. And that's why, to me, I just hope it doesn't stop. I hope that there is some retribution for these victims. Boy, they seem to really be going after Prince Andrew in England. And even Fergie, there was some stuff that had come out where there is now emails where even after you knew that Epstein was a slimeball, she was basically begging Epstein to be one of his house managers because apparently she was so down and out for money that she was just basically begging for that. But you knew this guy was a creepo, but you knew he had money and resources, so I guess that's why she kept hanging around. Yeah, but there are a lot of people that feel like Prince Andrew has still not gotten enough. Just downgrading him from one royal cottage to the next, they said, no, like this guy needs to be out completely or behind bars. And that would have been something, because I don't know if they've ever put a British royal behind bars in the modern era.
Fergie's the one that's kind of thrown out in her own world. Didn't she? She's not part of the family anymore, but they still kind of take care of her.
Her and Andrew, divorced, but yeah, she's still kind of hanging around. And here's a bit of the audio from that video I was telling you with Epstein's biggest clients, where they've used AI and they've looked at the correspondence that were happening before and after you knew that he was a creepo, and how many people he's talking to and how frequently, especially towards the end in 2019.
This is a list of some of the most well-known figures that appear in Epstein's emails. David Stern, an aide to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Larry Summers, the former U.S. Treasury Secretary. And Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's associate who's been convicted of sex trafficking minors, were all in consistent contact with Epstein. Our data shows that some people were emailing with Epstein hundreds of times a month, like the physicist Lawrence Krauss and the banker Ariane de Rothschild. To understand just how much Epstein's network reached into almost every area of society, we've also divided the top 500 people by their industry. If you exclude Epstein's emails with his staff and business partners, 19% of messages with his top correspondents were with financiers, like Jess Staley, the former CEO of Barclays. 17% were in academia, like the immunologist Boris Nikolic. There were politicians like Peter Mandelson, Britain's former ambassador to the US, and Ehud Barak, Israel's former prime minister. And people from media and entertainment, including the publicist Peggy Siegel, the journalist Michael Wolff, and the filmmaker Woody Allen. The list also contains at least 18 current or former billionaires.
Wow, 18 current or former billionaires. And a lot of these people are really taking heat now, which I love, and I think it's fair. You have to say, hey, look, you are in this a lot. And at this time, explain yourself. And if you don't have a good explanation, then it's very suspect.
There was a comedian I remember from the 80s and early 90s, and he's all up in that thing.
Really?
He was very close with Epstein. And it's weird because my buddy did a job with him. Wow. He's a stand-up comedian, so he had him do stand-up at his place. And that guy's all through that thing.
Wow. Yeah, they went through, that was The Economist that did that. They used AI to go through 1.4 million Jeffrey Epstein emails.
Yeah.
That's why they're getting the information so fast. 3 million total. And yeah, they're cutting through it. There's just a bunch of other really weird and bizarre kind of things. One is the creator of The Simpsons wrapped into it. Matt Groening, I guess is his name. Now, there's a 2000 episode of The Simpsons featuring a joke about crazy creeps on an island secretly running the world. It's a line that has resurfaced due to similarities. And looking even at the artwork that they had on that, the guy that they showed looked a little bit like Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, they seem to have their finger on the pulse on a lot of shit that ends up happening.
There might be a reason why. Apparently, Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons, he wound up on an Epstein flight and got a foot massage from that Virginia Giuffre, the one who is from Royal Palm Beach High School that committed suicide recently. Now, she's saying that he did not behave inappropriately. He was very polite and did not engage in any wrongdoing, so she had cleared him when she was alive, but he was kind of in that. So it wasn't just that he was pulling something out of left field. This is a guy that, I guess had seen it, apparently did not do anything bad, but then turned it into a bit of a Simpsons episode. And I hope got the hell away from Jeffrey Epstein after that.
That shit aged like milk.
Really did. I also saw, too, that a renowned pathologist who was at Jeffrey Epstein's autopsy is demanding a fresh investigation, insisting newly released info only confirms his belief that the notorious pedophile was murdered.
Murdered?
Dr. Michael Baden, who was New York City's chief medical examiner in the 1970s, was so alarmed by what he saw in the August 2019 exam that he publicly declared, quote, "The evidence points toward homicide rather than suicide." So it'll be interesting to see, because I know other people have said that for a while, and those are those questions. I don't know if there's something there or not. I guess we'll have to see. So, look, anybody, I don't care who you are. Again, I don't care about the party affiliation. Just if you did something wrong around this, I just hope that you're brought to justice and you got to pay. Now, here in South Florida, things are going to get rather interesting. You remember old Luther Campbell?
Oh, yeah.
Uncle Luke? He made an interesting gesture, and I wonder if the timing of this has anything to do with it. Now, he's kind of kicked out a bit that he might jump into politics. He's, I would say, pretty big entrenched into being a Democrat. And we've got this one congresswoman that is kind of being investigated right now for maybe some misuse of $5 million in COVID relief funds.
Oh, shit.
That they're kind of looking at now. She has pled not guilty, but Luther Campbell is saying that, you know what, I think I might go for that seat. I think that's what I'm going to try to do. So it looks like he might be jumping into the ring to try to be a congressman now. And if you want to get your name out there, why not tell a story from back in the day when you were in the old 2 Live crew and things were pretty crazy? He had some things to say about a party he went to at Mar-a-Lago, and actually there was a 911 call that was made, and here's what he said on that.
A lot of these women ain't of age. So when you got a whole bunch of these women running around, whether they of age or not, there's a lot of things going on. Some women look too young. Yeah, there was a lot of sex going on.
Okay. He said there was a lot of sex going on and some of these women looked too young. He described rampant drug use, open sexual activity, and women who appeared too young, prompting his quick exit despite being invited. He was alongside Mike Tyson and Eddie Murphy.
What was their big songs?
Oh, Me So Horny was the biggest.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. The audio was from November 4th of 2016. So now they're kind of looking into it, saying, do we need to do another lap around that and see what's going on? But like I said, the timing of everything around there, who knows, could be suspect. But they're opening up everything and then just trying to sort it out. So who knows where it'll be. Got an anonymous email here from somebody saying, Kev, I remember from a long time ago, you were talking about how your mom had kind of changed and was more open about conspiracy theories and it affected her. I could be off, but it stayed with me. Anyhow, my mom is retired and has shut herself at home, and she's watching Facebook and Reels, and the stuff that she's telling me is just disgusting. I know she was raised by a racist father, so I know there's a background, but I keep telling her just because it's on Reels doesn't make it real. I tell her to check the story to make sure it is real because some of it is just insane. But she doesn't want to hear it, and I'm sticking my head in the sand about the news on TV. I don't want to know. I've tried changing her settings so she doesn't see this stuff, but that isn't working. When she gets on her rants parroting what she's watching, I don't like her. I love her, but I don't like the person she's become. I don't know what to do. Thanks for listening. I can't tell my friends this because it's embarrassing. Yeah, it can be challenging, because my mom was very much into it. And it wasn't even that we had opposing views. I just was like, I don't know. And she was really kind of getting into the stuff. Now, the crazy thing about it was she was telling me she was really into that whole Pizzagate. She's like, Kevin, there is something going on with sex trafficking and pizza. I'm like, okay, Mom. There's kind of been a little vindication that there might be something going on with sex trafficking and pizza. Now, the other thing that my mom was into was she thought that they had kids in cages in the Disney tunnels. And I was like,
I remember that one.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about that. I would really be surprised if that one was the case. And then the other thing she was into, she's like, and she was always about this my entire life, demon worship. She's like, there's devil worship going on. They're sacrificing babies and they're drinking blood. I'm like, all right, Mom, I don't know. But that's the latest stuff they're saying about Epstein is that he was into Baal worship, demon worship, and drinking baby's blood.
But, back in the day when she'd say that, like, all right, whatever. Now all this shit's hitting the news.
Yeah, so I got to say, half of it. But I think what you can do, and if it comes to that, I would just redirect. I think with a lot of people that come in is you can just try to redirect and get to something else and just politely say, hey, I'm not really into this stuff. I don't really have an opinion, and you really need to find another audience.
Well, I've seen it happen to people in my family that are older. You start to become the content you're watching. If you become obsessed with it, you're watching it all the time, and you're like, it's a conspiracy. It starts to become unhealthy. Yeah. Because you think everything's a conspiracy at that point.
It really does. And the one thing that I'd even say to a lot of these people is, even if you're right about the evil that is out there, it is going to be a lot to take it down. And you alone with your power can't do it. And you're probably powerless. And delving into that world, it is a very dark world. And that starts to wear on you. The people who are in there, and they have people that are former special forces and things like that actually have put together teams that they go into some of these violent countries and they are by force removing people. And there's no real publicity around it because a lot of this stuff is very questionable. They're going into these countries kind of illegally and they're using what abilities they have. And I applaud it. I think it's absolutely fantastic because a lot of these girls, boy, they disappear into some of these dark resources in some of these countries. You'll never get them out. And so they say, you know what, screw it. We're going in, like it or not. And they have the capacity to do that. These are guys that they're just built for war and these kind of situations. And I would put what's happening, how dark and evil this stuff is. You need to have that. You know, people come back from war with PTSD. Man, that's tough. You're almost going through the same kind of stuff. You have to be built for it. And even the people that are built for it, a lot of times have to be rebuilt when they come back, because they're broken. And that's just where I would tell anybody here domestically, you don't have a lot of power and you can lose yourself into these conspiracy theories without being able to prove them or do anything about it. And that can be a very discouraging feeling that is going to make you feel down. And you got to stay away from that. And honestly, you can rework your algorithm. I've been purposely trying to do more great news, faith-based stuff, things like that just fill my spirit more than deplete it. And it is actually a joy going through some of my social media, my personal social media, that I've tried to really rebuild the algorithm. You actually can do it. And there is actually good stuff out there. It will feed you what it thinks you want.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And it doesn't care. It's not like it's purposely trying to give you evil stuff. It's not. It's trying to give you what you want.
Yeah. No,
change your algorithm. Really do it, man. It will make you feel so much more optimistic and hopeful about life.
No, for sure. I agree with you as far as what you're putting into your brain and your thoughts. And if you're always watching negative doom and gloom, you're going to think everything is negative and doom and gloom.
Yeah.
But I think but maybe everyone thinks this at some point in life. It feels like there's a spiritual deficit at times.
No, there definitely is. Look, I believe in that. I was grown up in it. I think that there's always a spiritual battle that is happening. I think that's why you have to be very careful with what you're feeding yourself. And you may even have good intentions, but you're feeding yourself negative stuff. And that's why I tell people, I think as regular people, we have to hold the politicians responsible and accountable and make sure that they're coming out with stuff and people are brought to justice. But be careful with how much stuff you're ingesting. I say this after giving you 30 minutes of Jeffrey Epstein material, but the positive is at the end of this, take a break from it, get away from it. Tell your parents that you still love them. Be like, can we talk about good memories that we have? Can we redirect to something else? Because this is just so dark, and I can only give it so much of my capacity. Because if I give it any more, it's taking me down a dark path.
That's why I don't watch as much. I made an adjustment with the content I watch. I don't watch as much body cam stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Just because you're watching the body cam shit because something fucking went off the rails, and that's why you're watching it. And now all of a sudden you think everyone, you think the whole world is this big body cam, and maybe it is, but
yeah.
I'm like you in the sense that I do think there's good out there.
There is a lot.
It's just not talked about.
No, there is a lot. Like I said, I changed my algorithm. It has really changed a lot. Just going out on Saturday and having real great conversations with just really awesome people. You said, honestly, man, people are beautiful. They really are. I love people. I love being around them, and there's so much more light than there is darkness that is out there. And if you hang out in the dark, you think that's all there is. Go find people that can be a light in your life, and then you yourself be a light in somebody else's life.
That's why, you got to be careful with the media, and we're in the media, so I'm talking about everybody. Right. But that's what they teach you. That's the first thing they teach you in journalism is if it bleeds, it leads. And so if you're already kind of trained to search for this negative shit that's going to go, oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
How many dead people? Nope, that's got to go to the top of the list.
Yeah. Well, to me, I like to be aware. I like to know what's going on. But then I think at the end of it, you have to reset and you have to cleanse your palate. And you have to realize that there's a lot more light in the world than there is evil. There's a lot more nice and beautiful people than there are terrible monsters that are out there. And catch up with it. Do what you need to do to try to help bring them to justice and insist that the people in power are doing the right things. And then the rest of the time, do positive things for others. That is an easy way to reset how you feel about all this stuff and to feel better about life. That's why I love doing the KVJ Volunteer Army and those kind of things where you can give back and do something awesome for somebody else, because you never feel better than when you are giving without you receiving anything in return, just for somebody else.
Well, it sets the spirit on the right direction.
Absolutely, it does. And you need all that kind of stuff. So we'll give you the news, but I hope to spin it at the end with a lot of great positivity. And I'm happy we're making more international friends as people can check us out all over the globe. We gave a little shout out to people in Poland last week. And it says, huge thanks to Kevin, Virginia, and Jason. You made our Valentine's Day so special. Gary was so surprised and happy to hear his name on the show. I recorded his priceless reaction. It's the best gift ever. Thank you for the magic you do. I woke up at 5 a.m. here in Poland to listen to the show. My heart was pounding as I waited. And when I finally heard you say his name, I couldn't believe it was happening. Seeing him this happy means the world to me. You gave us both a moment of strength that we truly needed. And I love to hear that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Also got a greetings from South Africa. Michael said, my new favorite radio station. Love the music. Be safe, friends. God bless America and her people. It's nice to hear somebody from another place saying that. Thank you. And also Abigail. She is out there and needs some prayers today and a little bit of love. Her dad is still waiting at the University of Miami for awake brain surgery on the tumor in his frontal lobe. So give him all the love. So there she is. She's beautiful. Her dad's fantastic.
Oh, yeah. She's very nice.
Yeah, we love them. So they deserve all of our positivity we can send them, and wishing the best for your dad. So
heck yeah.
Definitely rooting for you. So look, with all the craziness in the world with KVJ Nation, that's what we try to do. We try to help everybody through it. So, we'll all make it a little bit easier for you. So send us your email. Stay connected to us. If you need it, mail at kvjshow.com, and enjoy your Monday. We'll see y'all back here tomorrow. Goodbye.